All right, now we are ready to install our rear sway bar. This is the factory original bar. Here's our end link right here. It's connected to a bracket up on the control arm right here. There are two bolts and nuts. One, two. We'll pull the bracket right out of the control arm, leave it attached to the sway bar. And then we have our mounting bracket right here, which has one through bolt and a nut up top and a catch tab right here. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the nuts on these bolts that hold the sway bar link bracket up into the control arm. Now, this one actually is a little bit tedious. The top, even though these bottom nuts are 13 millimeter, they're 8 millimeter bolts, and the nuts are 13 millimeter. The top head of the bolt is actually 17 millimeters. So we're going to use our 17 millimeter box end. We have to just feel around, get it on the head of the bolt. There is not a lot of room up there. Then we'll get our 13 millimeter socket, extension and ratchet, and loosen the nut from below. So we have to hold the wrench on the bolt head from above while we're loosening the nut. And I'm not going to bother pulling this bolt out of here. That can stay right there. Right there, you can see that's loose. Now we'll go over to the other side, do the same thing to loosen the bracket. All right, now, as you recall, we pulled the bracket off here. We just took the bracket off on the other side, the end link bracket. We also, on the other side, already disconnected the bushing mount bracket. So we're going to take the bracket off on this side. There's a tab here from the bracket that's in a slot on this sheet metal mount. And there's a nut up here and a bolt. We're going to take that free. We've got our 13 millimeter socket and ratchet. Put it on the nut. And we'll put a 13 millimeter box end wrench on the bolt head. And loosen that up and pull it off. And here's our nut. And that's free now. There's the bracket, there's the tab, and there's the slot the tab was in. Now, the bar is ready to come down. However, we may find that we have to lower the muffler to get the bar free on the driver's side. Sometimes that has to be done. Sometimes it'll come out otherwise. Now, we have the sway bar loose. We're going to see if we can get it past the muffler. Now, our problem is these end links. They're still on the bar. These are the rubber bushing end links pressed over the pin on the end of the bar. These don't just pull off. So that's why we disconnected the bracket up top and pulled the whole link with the sway bar. So we're going to see if we can get this other side past the muffler. And as I had noted, in most cases on the E46 models, we usually have to lower the muffler to get the bar past, and I think that's going to be the case here. So what we're going to do on the E46, it's easy. You can't see it in frame here. There's a mount on each side of the muffler. They're back a little bit further. They're held up to the body with two 13 millimeter nuts. We simply go up with a socket and extension, undo the two nuts on each mount that hold it to the body. Then we can pull the muffler down a little bit. We'll leave it connected up front. We'll just pull it down a little bit. That'll give us enough room to get the bar off. Now, you can also note that E36 models are basically the same in the rear as this E46. The bend in the bar is a little bit different, but the connections are all pretty much the same. E36, it's less common to have to remove the muffler to get the bar out as well. So just depending on what you find is whether we have to lower. All right, now, as I'd mentioned, I've undone the muffler mounting brackets, and we can pull the muffler down a little bit. So we're going to work the bar out. Okay, I'll just pull down, and we can pull the assembly out. So here we have the whole sway bar with the end links on it. We're going to put new end links on the new sway bars. That way these can be pressed off. and reused on the other bar, but we're going to go ahead and put new links on the new bar. We are going to reuse these brackets. So we'll remove the bolt and the nut to pull the bracket off and put it on the new link. We'll assemble the new bars. We'll lubricate the bushings on the new bars just like you saw us do with the front, and then we'll be ready to install the new bars up into place just the way this one came off. Okay, now we've got our new bar assembled, and show you a couple things here. We've got the new links assembled to the bar as we showed you previously with the bolts instead of the through pin like the original, and our original brackets, and also the original mounting brackets on the urethane bushings, well greased up with the liquid moly anti-seize compound. So we're ready to go back together here. First is we slide it in on the driver's side, and we'll do our final fitting up into place, and then we'll get our bolts and nuts together on those brackets. Okay, now we've got the bar into place. We've got the upper bracket coming up through the control arm, and we've got the upper bolt coming through the control arm. I'm going to run the bracket over the bolt, get a nut on it. Okay, and do the same thing on the other side. And two, grab our wrench out of there. Now, our links are fully mounted. Now we do the mounts to the mounting brackets here, and then the bar will be fully mounted. The only thing left after that is to remount our muffler brackets, and we'll be ready to go. Take note on the assembly here, we've got the link on the outside of the bar with the bolt going through this way, nut on this side. That puts the bar in the proper orientation to the link and the control arm. Let's see if we can get this upper mount into place. Get it up here. Now what we'll do, remember the tab on the bottom. We'll get the tab into place. We're going to do both at the same time. And then we need to squeeze together and get the bolt through the top with the nut. I'll get some tools and we'll get that together. You can see I have the bracket up into place. What I did, and it can be rather tedious, so we didn't film the whole thing, get the tab into the slot. And you may not be able to push the bracket up close enough to get the bolt through the hole. So what I did is I used a pair of channel locks to pinch the bracket up tight so that then I could get the bolt through and get the nut started, and now it's ready to be tightened. We do the same thing on the other side. Once we have this tightened, the other side installed and tightened, and the muffler back in place, the rear end is totally done and ready to go. So we'll tighten that up right now. Again, 13mm ratchet and a box end wrench on the bolt head. There we go, all set. Get that off, get the wrench off. We'll continue on the other side, and this job is totally done. Okay, there you have it, the installation of a Bavarian Autosport high-performance sway bar kit on this 330i E46. Remember, E36 and E46 are practically identical in the installations. Everything you've seen here is available at bavauto.com. The sway bars, the end links, the liquid moly lubrication for the bushings. You can also call our agents at 800-535-2002.